Welcome to the ArmaniTalks YouTube channel. I'm your host, ArmaniTalks. In this channel, I'm covering communication skills for you to level up your way with words, become much more articulate. In today's episode, we're going to be answering the question, are you biased? There was this one year when I went to driving school, and I was at that age where I was just itching to drive. I was thinking that in driving school, we were going to drive. But in my first day, I was somewhat surprised. I enter, and it's this classroom, lecture-style environment. I see 13 other kids. I'm the 14th. And eventually, there's this old man that comes into the front of the classroom. He seems very upset, angry, depressed. He captures all of our attentions, and he's like, "Kids, look outside the window." We all look outside the window. And he points at me. He's like, "Hey, you, what do you see?" And I was like, "A car." And that's when he said, "No, you don't see a car. You see a death machine." For the next 15 minutes, he begins talking about all the deaths caused by a car. He talks about how one error in judgment can take away your life. And then he starts sharing a lot of personal anecdotes of all the people that he lost with a car. I'm hearing this, and I'm like, what's up with this dude, man? Why is he so negative? As I'm thinking this, there was this rebel in our class whose arm goes shooting up, and he's like, "Hey, why are you talking so much? When are we actually going to drive?" That's when this old man says, "Okay, in driving school, the first half is lecture-based, and the second half, you are going to drive." Now I'm feeling good. I have something to look forward to. Once the first half of the day was done, we all grab some lunch, we come back, and these different students are getting paired up with their instructors. Eventually, there's this old man, white hair, hair combed back, dark sunglasses, short shorts, and a light yellow polo, who comes walking my way, and he's like, "Hey, you Arman?" I was like, "Yes, I'm Arman." And he was like, "Okay, the name's Charlie. I'll be your instructor." I get in his car, the driver's seat. I'm ready to drive, and I began driving. Within the first 5 to 10 minutes, Charlie's somewhat impressed. I'd been taking classes with my dad, so he's like, whoa, you're a lot better than I initially thought. We're driving and driving and driving away, and eventually we get to this neighborhood, which is somewhat packed, so I'm slowing down. As I'm slowing down, I look to my right, and there I see it, a red Ferrari Enzo. Once I saw this beautiful car, I was amazed. Heck, I had a picture of this car in my bedroom. I couldn't believe that I was seeing it in person. I'm looking at it and I'm like, wow, I really just want to get out this car and touch that car. And as I'm over here feeling this much enthusiasm, Charlie, he looks at the same exact car in disgust, and he's like, "Ugh, I wonder what that crook did to buy a car like that." Two different people looking at the same exact thing. However, we had completely different subjective responses. I had joy. He had disgust. Why? The reason why is because we had different experiences. I mean, growing up, I had a few cousins that would always talk about cars, and they talked about how Ferraris were the creme de la creme. And I started to absorb that message. I bought the poster, and I started to associate a narrative of this car represents power, wealth, beauty. Where for Charlie, I don't quite really know his experiences. Maybe he had a bad experience with a capitalist. Maybe he got screwed over when he was buying a car. maybe in his worldview, he cannot see an ethical way in order to buy a car that costs roughly $200,000. Bottom line is that we both had two completely different databases. So this all ties into the episode today because the question is, are you biased? And I would argue that the answer is yes. Now you may be like, well, who are you to say that? You don't even know me. I don't need to know you. I could say that anyone that is a human being is biased. And the reason why I make a claim like that is because what is the opposite of being biased? Unbiased. Now, what does unbiased really mean? It means someone that is hyper logical. Now, am I willing to admit that human beings at a fundamental level are logical first? No, I would not say that at a fundamental level they are logical. I would say at a fundamental level they are emotional, which I will get to shortly. Because for me to say that a human being is fundamentally logical, I would automatically have to make two assumptions. The first assumption is that they know everything. Because the more that you know, and in this situation, you know everything, from there, you could even begin to say that, yes, I'm a logical entity. But then there's a second thing that's needed. The second thing that's needed is a strong judgment, which, by the way, people are consistently working on. No one has the perfect judgment. It's something that is consistently being sharpened. So I'm not willing to say that these two assumptions are valid with human beings. So they are not fundamentally logical. They are emotional. Now, whenever someone thinks of emotional, the first thing that they picture is someone that's, sitting in their room and just crying and being like, "Ugh," sobbing away. That's not what I mean by emotional. Emotional is someone that is prone to change. Okay? And the reason that human beings are prone to change is because of, back to me and Charlie. We're just different. We're consistently taking in new experiences. Our database is consistently updating era by era, chapter by chapter, which causes us to take in more information and use the judgment that we have at the moment. So whenever you see someone who's like, I'm super objective, I'm super logical, you're actually making eye contact with someone who is ignorant of their true nature. Human beings are not fundamentally logical first. They are emotional first. They are flawed creatures first. They have narratives first. And from there, that's when they begin that journey towards being logical. Whenever someone says that they are purely logical, that's when they have shut off future learning. So embrace being emotional. Embrace understanding that becoming logical is a process. It requires work. It requires you to take in more information. And from there, learning becomes fun. There is no ceiling. There's always new ceilings which are being unlocked. And by the way, eventually afterwards, I was able to convince Charlie that you can be ethical and buy a beautiful car like that. And I believe Charlie came around to my corner. I have no facts of this. I have no evidence of this, but it was simply a gut feeling. So if you enjoyed today's episode, go on and drop that like for me right on below and stay subscribed to the channel for future videos on emotional intelligence, public speaking, creative writing, and much more. Thank you for joining the ArmaniTalks YouTube channel, and I will catch you next time.